Hey, welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you, and thank you for checking out the channel here on a Wednesday night turning into Thursday morning. Hope you guys can subscribe to the channel. Also, the Tobin and Leroy Show, weekdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. live on 560 WQAM's YouTube page, Twitch page, and on the Odyssey app. You guys can listen to us live if you are just patrolling around with some earbuds and you want to not see this ugly mug. You guys can do that, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. So getting a little more into this Dolphins matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I find fascinating about this because there's a lot of parallels going on right now with these franchises. You know, it isn't obviously, same state, whatever, and will always kind of be tied from the Dan Marino fiasco that was his last game, 62-7. But you look at current day, there are a lot of parallels that are going on right now. Like, it's interesting, tuning into Jacksonville Jaguars or Jacksonville Sports Talk, that the talk is a lot about Shad Khan's expectations, right? And that he thinks this is the best Jaguars team he's ever put together. That this is, the expectations are high from the Khan family. They obviously just paid Trevor Lawrence a boatload of money. And what were we just hearing just a couple weeks back from Stephen Ross, that he expects this to be a Super Bowl contender. He has also spent a crazy amount of dough on this team this year with the Tua money, the Tyreek Hill money, the Raheem Mostert, the Jalen Waddle extension, the Mike McDaniel extension. So he has gone out there and he has really put his money where his mouth has been. And so now it is on the team to go out there and reflect what he thinks he's been putting out there. But you also have, of course, not only you look at those two quarterbacks, and it's interesting. Tua today was talking about the parallels of them, and he's saying, we have different journeys, but we've both been through things. Although Tua's journey was tougher than Trevor Lawrence's. Let's be real about it. Trevor Lawrence, what did he have to deal with? He had to deal with a boob coach and Urban Meyer, which is the worst decision in Jaguars franchise history, who got caught getting a lap dance at a bar during a bye week. And meanwhile, I believe Trevor Lawrence's first win was against the Dolphins. I think it was in London. Very embarrassing loss. But that really was the dysfunction that he was dealing with. He was dealing with just overall, the Jaguars thought they had their guy, and really what they hired was a clown. They hired an ass clown. And really, I think it deflected a lot of the criticism that Trevor Lawrence faced nationally. Some people will say it's a Jacksonville thing. I mean, I can't deny it, but I do think it's the National Football League, and I do think that if you're a star player, and man, Trevor Lawrence came in with a lot of star expectations, that you should be held to that standard. And I don't really think that he has been, not nearly to what Tua has. And, you can sit here and you say, well, he's got a playoff win, Tobin. It's like, yeah, he does. But, that division sucks. The division that the year that they won the division really, really sucked. This is pre-Houston getting C.J. Stroud, just ousting Deshaun Watson, an older Tannehill Tennessee Titans, Colts trying their merry-go-round of post Andrew Luck quarterbacks. So you could poke some holes in it. And then, of course, that playoff win was against the Chargers, who have really never been the same since that playoff loss. But a playoff win's a playoff win. He has that over Tua, for sure. But you want to talk about, he dealt with a boob coach. Tua dealt with the actual coach who hated his guts. It was interesting today, too, hearing about Tua, because Tua was talking about the mobility factor, right? I think it was Cam Wolf who was asking about his new body and the mobility. And it was interesting hearing Tua talk about this, because people have been wondering about how mobile he's going to be this year. And Tua brought to light that he really hasn't, even with this hip injury that he had in college, he's never going to be the same. He says he's never felt the same since he was in college, since he suffered that hip injury. And it's funny enough, I was just texting about this today with a buddy of mine who was snooping around. He happened to be on Miami's campus, and he had seen one of the Miami athletes, and he goes, I was checking out his gait. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you guys remember when you and Robbie the Degenerate were stalking Tua at Radio Row? And immediately I was like, yeah, because me and my former producer, Robbie the Degenerate, who you guys should check out, SDI and the Degenerate, their podcast. They do a great job. But Robbie and I were scouting Tua. Like, he was doing the media rounds. And, we were kind of like, all right, we got to see what's this look like? The Dolphins may draft this guy. What's he walking like? He's coming off this hip injury. Mind you, this is the last event pre-COVID, because then all hell broke loose after the Miami Radio Row. And we were like, hey, what's he looking like? You saw a little something was there, but it looked okay. And then, of course, the rest of this, they end up drafting him, right? But it was fascinating hearing Tua talk today. And he was like, yeah, I don't think I'm ever really going to be that guy again. Mobile-wise, he was like, I'm more that than I ever have been. But it was pretty interesting hearing him say that he's like, yeah, I'm never going to be that again. And I was like, man, damn, that's something right there, man. So you talk about a brutal injury he's coming off of, a coach that hates him, and it felt like, and mind you, Lawrence, I think this is also a big factor on it. Lawrence is the creme de la creme on his draft class, right? He was the number one pick, but the rest of his draft class, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, that draft class sucked. Tua, you had Burro go out there and make it to a Super Bowl in year 2. Justin Herbert was every rookie record. And then Tua obviously dealt with his struggles. And so that was another light that was shined on it. But I think Trevor has been through some adversity, but nothing like what Tua has been through. But I think they're both good quarterbacks trying to prove that they're elite, both prove that they're worth the money. And that's that's where we're at right now. And I'm, I maintain myself as a big Tua fan, but yeah, he, like Lawrence, has some things that he's got to clean up and improve this year, and I think he's going to do it. I'm a believer in it. Also, one of the things that they're both dealing with going into this game right here is they both have new defensive coordinators, which is kind of weird that they're both coming into this game and they really don't know. Both of these quarterbacks don't really know what the other DC is going to throw their way, because they got to kind of peruse into some things to figure out, all right, what direction is this going to go and what are they going to bring as far as this is concerned. With Ryan Nielsen being the Jags' new defense coordinator, I believe he was in Atlanta last year with Calais Campbell. And then Anthony Weaver, same thing. So both coaches have come in here saying, well, we're kind of patchworking this film because we don't really know, which means Tua said today, they're kind of focusing on the players that they got, and they got some hellacious players on the defensive side of the football. But even their coach acknowledges the secondary's got some things and some holes in it. So then you look at the Dolphins and their parallel to this. It's like, yeah, the Dolphins have some questionable holes on their defense side, and it's a new defense on top of it. And you go and look at the injury report. There's a little bit of, but when they're both dealing with it, you can't really lean on either one of those things as an excuse for either one of them, right? Both teams, fast starts last year. Fast starts, bad collapses. Jaguars worse than the Dolphins because they ultimately didn't make the playoffs, but fast starts blew up in their face. And it is crazy. I think the Jacksonville, who has had more of the cratering over their franchise's history, they've done more of the bottoming out than the Dolphins have done, but they've also been higher over these last 25 years than the Dolphins have been too. I mean, they were in an AFC Championship game in 2017 with two of the Dolphin stars in Calais Campbell and Jalen Ramsey, and just a great defense. However, another point of that is both of these teams at the line of scrimmage are kind of question marks. The Jaguars have added a little bit of beef onto their offensive line. The Dolphins are going to go into this thing presumably with Teron Armstead, Jones, Brewer, Eichenberg, and Jackson. And while all those guys have experience, it's not like it's an unproven set of dudes. It is a new line. It's a new front in the interior. and you're wondering, can they get that push that they need to get? It's hard to tell off of these preseasons. And then coincidentally, on the other side of it, the same thing goes for the Jaguars. Like, they had a lot of issues with the short yardage last year, and they bring in Morse from Buffalo as they are hoping that's going to ease some of that stuff. But yeah, they're also bringing some offensive line questions to the table. Trevor Lawrence kind of got the snot kicked out of him last year, and these are things that we're going to have to that we're all going into it. So the mirror images of these teams, I think the Dolphins have more star power. And I think ultimately their offense is top to bottom better. Clear advantage in the wide receiver category, but the Jaguars receivers are decent. Jags have the clear advantage on tight end. I mean, Evan Ingram is more proven than any of the guys the Dolphins have, but I think we're also all intrigued by, hey, what is Jonnu Smith going to bring to the table? Running backs, I'm going to give the edge to the Dolphins. I think they're a little bit more versatile, but I think Travis Etienne's a pretty great player and is really, really talented. Been carrying Trevor Lawrence basically since Clemson. And that's going to be an interesting one. And then you look at the schematics of it with head coaches. You have two offensive minds. Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl, so you got to give the pedigree to him as opposed to Mike McDaniel, who is kind of like the new trick play guy. It's a fascinating tale of two teams. I'm confident in the Dolphins getting this done, but it does feel like with the owners really laying it out there early, and the Dolphins especially having a quick turnaround to have to go right to Buffalo or have to go take on Buffalo at home on Thursday Night Football just days later with a Jalen Ramsey with a hamstring issue, Jalen Phillips who's on a pitch count, and a bunch of guys who are older. Maybe this was part of, and I wonder too, if this is almost part of the plan of Mike McDaniel, who always kind of has a very relaxed camp and doesn't push guys, and they have gotten off to fast starts. Fast starts, great Septembers, great at home. Mike McDaniel. That has been one calling card. So you can't knock the training camp plan, I guess, if there's something to it. That being said, these couple of games are, as big as it gets to start off because they are two good teams. They may be teams that in the playoff standings, yeah, you'll get another crack at the Bills to push, but this one's in your building, and you obviously want to make a statement in this Jaguars game. Like, what if this does come down to a wild card later on down in the year, and you're thinking back all the way to week one? So it's crazy. It's crazy to think about all the stakes that these franchises have put on each other and how much it feels like is going into this week one. I still think the gravity of game two is going to be bigger because of the division rivalry, but this one is pretty juicy right off the bat.